Brain anatomy and function. Christina Griffin, Hannibal-LaGrange University. The brain is a social organ. It requires stimulation and connections to survive. A brain will shrink and essentially die if it does not have sufficient challenges and connections. It's helpful for teachers to create a positive social experience in the classroom. When it comes to building a child's brain, the position the teacher is in is similar to a parent. Optimism, encouragement, and giving the benefit of the doubt have all been shown to boost performance. There are three main parts of the brain. There's the cerebrum, or the cortex, is the largest part. It is involved in remembering, problem-solving, thinking, and movement. The cerebellum, or little brain, controls coordination and balance. The brainstem is the lower extension of the brain, and connects the brain to the spinal cord, controls breathing, digestion, heart rate, and blood pressure. The cerebrum is divided into two parts, the right and left cerebral hemisphere. The hemispheres are mostly symmetrical in appearance. However, each side functions slightly different. They are divided by the great longitudinal fissure. They are joined at the bottom by the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum carries messages from one side of the brain to the other. Both hemispheres have several distinct fissures that divide them into four distinct lobes. Lobes are just broad regions of the brain that function through very complex relationships with one another. There's the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe. The left side of the brain deals more with language and speech, and the right side deals with interpreting visual information and spatial processing and strong emotions. Most tasks involve both sides of the brain. It is important for teachers to know how to engage both sides. Teachers should work to teach the students to balance with the expression of emotion and cognition. Storytelling is a good tool for this. A well-told story with conflicts and resolutions, as well as thoughts intermingled with emotions, will shape our brains and help connect people. The surface of the cerebrum contains billions of glia and neurons. This makes up the cerebral cortex. It is grayish-brown, thus called gray matter. The surface is covered with large grooves called fissures, smaller grooves called sulci, and bulges in between called gyri. Under the layer of the cerebral cortex, which is a little thicker than your thumb, lies a layer of white connecting fibers from all the neurons. They make up a layer called white matter. Learning involves strengthening the connection between neurons. Neuroscientists say what fires together wires together. This is why repetition encourages learning, and the lack of repetition and exposure is detrimental to it. Teachers should make sure to repeat important points to help deepen learning. Visual, sensual, motor, emotional, and semantic neural networks all have their own memory systems. Therefore, the more teachers can engage multiple networks at a time, the higher the likelihood of storage and recall. The cerebellum is the most identifiable part of the brain. Its two hemispheres and a highly folded surface makes it similar in appearance to the cerebrum. It sits under the occipital lobes, and it deals with everyday voluntary functions like walking. It fine-tunes our motor activity. It helps with posture and balance, and also aids in rapid and repetitive actions like playing video games. The cerebellum is believed to be much older than the cerebrum evolutionarily. The brainstem is located in front of the cerebellum and is connected to the spinal cord. It acts as a relay station because messages pass back and forth from the cerebral cortex and various other parts of the body there. There are three parts: the midbrain, which controls ocular movement, the pons, which coordinates eye and facial movement, facial sensations, hearing, and balance, as well as the medulla oblongata, which controls breathing, blood pressure, heart rhythms, and swallowing. 10 of the 12 cranial nerves also originate there. They are the ones that control hearing, eye movement, facial sensation, and taste. Buried deep in the cerebrum is the limbic system, sometimes called the emotional brain. The parts of it are the amygdala, which plays a role in fear and aggressive behavior, the hippocampus, which plays a role in remembering new information, and also part of the thalamus. The limbic system is thought to be evolutionarily old, like the cerebellum. Evolution has shaped our brains to trigger fear whenever it may be useful. Fear triggers the amygdala, which interferes with the prefrontal functioning. It also shuts down exploration, causes thinking to be more rigid, and encourages neophobia, which is the fear of anything new. Stressful situations trigger the release of cortisol, and cortisol inhibits neural growth. In order for students to be successful, they must find a way to decrease stress. Teachers can help by being warm, empathetic, caring, and positive, and teaching students stress relief techniques. Physical activity is important to keep the brain functioning at optimal level. Exercise encourages the birth of new neurons and pumps more oxygen through the brain. Our brain is our most powerful organ. It weighs just 3 pounds but consumes almost 20% of our energy. Therefore, proper nutrition and sleep are essential. Sleep boosts cognitive performance and increases learning. Teachers can teach about the importance of sleep, and good nutrition and regular exercise should be a part of the school environment as well. There are certain environmental factors that can also enhance and hamper learning. Poor acoustics, lighting, and facilities, as well as outside noise, all are related to poor academic performance. Chairs with poor support can impede blood flow to the brain and can hamper cognition. Classrooms with temperatures above 74 to 77 degrees have been related to poor math and reading scores. Teachers can stimulate learning in the classroom by keeping these factors in mind and providing a comfortable learning environment.